Good morning. We've talked about listing presentations, how to go about listings, business development, but what do you do now that you have the listing? Okay, so where a lot of agents kind of fall short. You're geared right to the goal of what you want to do or to get, which is to get the business or get the listing. But then once you have the listing, what do? You really have to have your systems in place and timelines for what you want to do, how you go about it. Now, this also depends on the company. Some companies have different rules, and you want to make sure of what they do. In addition to that, though, some companies also kind of compartmentalize, what is done and when. So as an agent, though, you're going to want to be on top of that, make sure that it happens. Typically speaking, when I get a new listing, I want to see it in every single commercial database within 48 hours. So the idea behind that, and a lot of agents look at it as, well, you know what, I may want to shop it around first, try and get my own clients to buy it, and that's great. What I always tell my clients, though, is that, do I have buyers for this property? Yes. Is it the best buyer? I don't know. So the only way to know that is to actually list the property and market the property. It goes back to the basic laws of supply and demand that, if you can, the supply remains the same, but if you can control the demand through your marketing efforts and create higher demand, you're going to get a better price. So if I have a very limited group of people that I'm showing it to, such as my own clients, I may not get that best price. So instead, I want to make sure that I am getting it in all the databases. In addition to that, an email blast should go out that very first week, preferably the same day that it loads up into the database systems. Okay. From there, what you're going to want to do as an agent is your goal is to get this property sold or leased up as quickly as possible. If it's a for sale property, what you're going to do is target people who actually are buying in the neighborhood. There's an old adage in commercial real estate that, people like to play Monopoly. So the most likely buyer may be the very next door neighbor. So you want to reach out to them, contact them, let them know first, I just listed this property. Have you ever thought about expanding, or are you looking to own your property versus lease it if they're leasing next door or down the street? So that could very well be a buyer that you can pick up very quickly. From there, if that doesn't work and you don't really get buyers out, you're going to want to start reaching out to who else has bought in that community. So you can pull that off public records, find out which properties have transacted within the last 1, 2, 3 years, and contact those buyers. Those buyers have already made an investment in this community, so they may want to double down and purchase another property in this area. Okay. Lastly, reach out to the brokers. Okay. You're going to want to reach out to every broker that represented a buyer in this area and also the brokers that work in this area. Don't trust that the broker's doing their job by checking the databases and getting it out. Reach out to them. I can't tell you how many times I have listed a property, gone through this, we've generated multiple offers, so I know that the marketing works, and yet 2 weeks later I get a call from a broker. I just saw this. Is it still available? And no, it's not, because we generated multiple offers, we had one accepted, we're now in escrow. So reach out to those brokers, because his buyer may have be willing to pay more in that instance. Now, if it's a lease listing, what do? It's very similar. Okay. Number one is contact all the leases that are expiring that fit that criteria within the area. Again, if you have full access CoStar, you'll have a lot of that information already available. Also, as you're working the program, you're either canvassing the area, or you're doing a block program. If it's a retail type property, you're going to already know who in the immediate area needs either office space or retail space to expand, look into, and whatnot. The next thought process is look at other businesses that might be moving into the area. Follow up with them. Who's expanding? Who's growing? How are you going to go about it and go after them? So what you want to do is reach out. What is this best? Let's say it's a retail property, and the perfect location for what you think is maybe a medical spa. Has the parking, has the demographics, has the traffic counts, everything that a medical spa maybe want to look. put that all together and start reaching out and contacting those tenants, but not just a phone call. Follow up with a LinkedIn or an email to the person in charge and explain all the key points. Here's the traffic counts. We're at 56,000 vehicles per day. We have demographics of 110,000 in a 3-mile radius. 5-mile radius is this, and what the income is. Explain that to them and why this is a perfect location for their business and their expansion. Okay. Sometimes you can't assume that a tenant or a buyer is going to know this is good for them as far as a good location. You can't expect them to really delve deep into every single property that comes on the market. So sometimes you have to put that kind of on a platter for them. So you put the package together. Here's what we're looking for. So, and this is what I talk about when I speak with agents. There's, I liken it a little bit to agents doing fishing. You have your typical fisherman who, casual fisherman who's recreational. He's really not out there to fish. If he gets a fish, he's happy, right? But really, he's just out there spending some time, cast a net, put some bait in. I look at that as a commercial agent or a real estate agent just putting it on the databases. They're kind of fishing for a buyer. They're fishing for another broker to bring a buyer. They're fishing for a buyer to see the property and come to them. A commercial fisherman, however, relies on catching fish for a livelihood, which is how you should be approaching this, because you are relying on getting a buyer or a tenant for your livelihood. So how do you go about that? A commercial fisherman uses radar. They use wind current. They look at the currents of the water itself, the depth of the water, the temperature of the water, looking at the other fish species in the area as well as other species, and they're judging that, and they increase the chance of catching fish tremendously. They know the migration patterns, where they are. You as a broker should be doing the same with your buyers. That's an active approach. Find out who's the most likely buyers, reaching out to them, pulling that data, calling them. That's an active approach versus just waiting for someone to come by and see the listing on the MLS or CoStar, LoopNet, Crexi, whatever databases and all the databases that you're using. So overall, once you get the listing, the first thing, the key point is market. Market the property. Get it out, expose it as much as possible. That's going to have your biggest likelihood of getting a sale or a lease done. The longer you wait to expose it, the more time the listing becomes stale, less people may see it, they may not take a look at it because it doesn't have the energy of a new listing. So take all of that and do it all at once. Again, we're not, and I say this a lot of times when we're teaching classes, we're not really playing dominoes. It's not do one thing and then after that's done, do the next. It should all be all-encompassing so that it's a full kind of a big marketing campaign all at once versus one thing at a time. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try this. Let's try this. The idea is you want to generate multiple offers. You want to generate those leads. And to do that, you have to reach out to everybody. So I hope that helps. Any questions?